So plenty of people have tried ranking the seven films in the Star Wars saga with varying results. Or is it 9? 9 films? 10? No, 7. 7 films are in contention here. I've tried ranking them many times over the years, but the results have never felt quite right to me, and I think I finally figured out why. I believe that each film in the Star Wars saga does at least one thing better than every other installment in the franchise, even the black sheep of the bunch. So it just doesn't feel right putting any of them at the bottom of the list. You may rank Phantom Menace last because you didn't like Jar Jar, but I for one can't put it at the bottom of the pile after seeing that Darth Maul fight. So today I'm going to go through all 7 films in the Star Wars saga and identify what each one of them does better than all the others. I'm awarding Star Wars superlatives, if you will. I feel that this is the fairest way to judge the franchise, rather than a typical best to worst countdown, because ranking these films all too often turns supposed fans into uncharacteristically negative nitpickers, and I for one think it's a-okay to admit you enjoyed the prequels. So here we go. In chronological order of their release, first up we have Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Best pacing.
Get behind me! Get behind me!
So George Lucas quite famously based the screenplay for A New Hope on the ancient, universal, monomythic tale of the hero, as outlined by Joseph Campbell in his famous book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. The monomyth begins with a down-on-his-luck protagonist hearing the call to action, which he initially ignores or denies.
It's not that I like the Empire, I hate it, but there's nothing I can do about it right now.
Then, a new motivating force enters the story, which initiates the hero's journey. He encounters trial after trial and learns new skills along the way. But eventually, he reaches a low point, which forces him to reconsider his mission. Then there's a final climactic battle, which in itself contains multiple reversals, boons, and busts. Just when all seems lost, the hero defeats the bad guys in a surprising but inevitable way. And everyone celebrates. This isn't just a story, this is the story. The prototypical tale of the hero that pretty much every other story is based on to some degree or another. All the narrative signposts are readily recognized by the audience, and they keep A New Hope moving at a faster clip than any of the other films in the franchise. It's the easiest film of the bunch to just sit back and watch. It never drags, it never dallies, it never stalls for time. In hindsight, A New Hope is probably the least psychologically and thematically interesting of the Star Wars films, but the pacing couldn't be better.
Can't get out that way.
Looks like you managed to cut off our only escape route.
Maybe you'd like it back in your cell, Your Highness.
Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Best Screenplay. You want to know why I put so much emphasis on good writing? Because everybody does. Raise your hand if you think Empire is the best film in the Star Wars franchise. It's because it's got the best script. Everything in there, from the dialogue to the plotting, the characterization.
I love you.
I know.
The surprising but inevitable conclusion.
He told me you killed him. No.
Everything in Empire is the best in terms of classic pen-to-paper storytelling. I also think it's the entry that has the most to say about the human heart, the most to say about patience.
Oh, I don't even know what I'm doing here. We're wasting our time.
About fear, about hope, about friendship.
I can't keep the vision out of my head. They're my friends. I gotta help them.
About Tauntaun anatomy.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Best editing.
Stay back. Chewie!
Editing? Yes, editing. Stick with me here, I promise I can make this interesting. So, I'm a filmmaker. I edit film. I know the importance of things like continuity, match cuts, the 180-degree rule, maintaining spatial awareness, editing to the eyes, the importance of timing and shot duration. But I also know that most of those things pass right over the head of the average moviegoer. So I'm gonna make this as unacademic as possible. Imagine how hard it was for the editor of Return of the Jedi to juggle the 3 concurrent battles at the end of the film and make sure they not only made sense to the audience, but that they were entertaining as well. It was really hard. The Phantom Menace tried balancing 4 concurrent battles and they didn't do so hot. But Return of the Jedi nailed it. They cut when the tension was highest. Each scene had its own build-up and payoff. Simply put, Return of the Jedi is a masterclass in getting the audience to wonder what's going to happen next. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Best Art Direction. Bet you thought this was going to be the hard one. No, I always knew Phantom Menace went all out in the art department. Budding concept artists had 16 years between the release of Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace to come up with ideas for the next film in the Star Wars series. And in that time, they imagined some of the most iconic sets, creatures, costumes, planets, weapons, vehicles, and hairstyles in the entire saga. The trailer seems keen on this. It told us very little about the story, and served more as a demo reel for the art department. And it worked, didn't it? Historically speaking, most of the people who walked out of the theater in 1999 reported enjoying Phantom Menace. It was only in hindsight that it started to get ridiculed. One quick note I want to address. Jar Jar never really bothered me. Not as much as he did the rest of the world anyway. I mean, yes, he's got that stupid, more than a little racist voice, but as a character, I don't think he's any more abrasive than, say, C-3PO. He's for kids. Leave him alone. One Jar Jar, a terrible film, does not necessitate. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Best action scenes. So not every action sequence in Attack of the Clones is great, but I do think that some of the best action scenes in the entire saga are to be found in Episode 2. There's the speeder pursuit over Coruscant, the fight in the rain between Obi-Wan and Jango, and then the whole Coliseum sequence is a mucking masterpiece. It functions as a little movie within a movie, complete with its own internal act structure and multiple reversals and surprises.
Just relax, concentrate. What about Padme? She seems to be on top of things.
Not to mention the fact that a whole battlefield of Jedi is something that no other Star Wars film ever even attempted. Probably because it's not as easy as it sounds. You can't just give everyone a lightsaber and let them loose. You have to justify that sort of spectacle in the narrative, and I think Lucas did fine doing that here. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Most cathartic ending.
This is the end for you, my master.
I happen to think that the first hour of Revenge of the Sith is one of the weakest hours in the entire Star Wars saga. It's so boring, little more than a glorified effects reel. But the second half, and especially the ending, really does it for me. I think Anakin's descent into evil gets a lot of unfair criticism. People say that his fear of Padme's death is way too weak a motivation for him to betray the entire Republic. Is it? I think it's a splendid motivation. His mom died in his arms, and no doubt that's engendered all sorts of feelings of inadequacy and helplessness, especially when it comes to women. Add to that the council's refusal to promote him.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
What?
And I'd say you've got a pretty potent recipe for violent revolution. Over the course of the prequels, we watch Anakin go from a kind-hearted little boy to a disaffected savant to a murderous outcast, and I think the progression feels about as natural as it could. Lucas has called the Star Wars saga the tragedy of Darth Vader, and this is the installment where it all finally gels, regardless of how atrocious the dialogue is.
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil!
Much has been said about the cornbally "I have the high ground" moment, but don't tell me you didn't get teary-eyed at what happened next.
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them! Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness!
Now we finally come to the modern era. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Best marketing campaign. Alright, I'm being facetious. Kinda. Regular viewers know I wasn't too impressed with Force Awakens. It definitely feels like the most cursory attempt at a Star Wars film, but it made the most money, so clearly it has the best marketing campaign. Goodbye! Alright, fine. I'll give credit where credit is due. Force Awakens might very well be the funniest Star Wars. Not that it's a comedy, and not that the other films aren't funny, but I feel like Force Awakens made comedy feel more effortless than any other entry in the series. For example, C-3PO's role as the comedic relief of the Star Wars saga has only ever been so-so in my opinion.
My parts are showing. My goodness.
But Force Awakens had the most hilarious line of C-3PO's career. "It is I, C-3PO. You probably don't recognize me because of my red arm." You know something? Force Awakens might have the best dialogue of any Star Wars film, because Lord knows, historically, it's been a problem.
Love won't save you, Padme. Only my new powers can do that.
That's not how the Force works.